Hey everyone, my name is Sean Arnold and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Online Ranked Duels. Today is episode number 72 or 73, one of the two numbers, I can't remember off the top of my head. And today it is Total Power versus Mondolce. Now today I've decided to do something a little bit different. I will do my usual commentary here, but this video is quite long and not a whole lot of action happens into it. So I decided I'm just going to use this video to kind of rant and kind of express my views on the current state of Yugioh and a couple other things. For those who are not aware, or you don't have to, whatever. It's recently I decided that I'm gonna take a break from Yu-Gi-Oh! Dev Pro and come back to Legacy the Duelist, and I have many reasons for doing so. But it's led to a lot of discussion between people saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy the Duelist versus Yu-Gi-Oh! Dev Pro. I want to kind of state my opinion on it because everyone's entitled to their opinion. You know, this is the world we live in. We are in the West. We have freedom of speech and so on and so forth. Everyone is allowed to express themselves, and this is how I express myself. And all in all, the way I see it is that Dev Pro and Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist are both friggin' awesome, and comparing the two is foolish. Really, both of them. I think Legacy of the Duelist is a better presented app. A better piece of software overall. It's got more content, it's got more things to do. It's better for newer players, it's nicer to play on my big TV screen, it's cheap. It's got a lot of things that support newer players in terms of tutorials. It's nice to have a system which kind of walks you through all the effects and helps you with all these pretty menus, and that's that. And in terms of Dev Pro is also fantastic. Dev Pro is a lot more updated, a lot more. It's got a more competitive environment. It's a great resource if, say, you're training for real life tournaments, because then you can play with modern day cards, whereas Legacy of the Duelist is not updated. I think Legacy of the Duelist by Konami is considered its own thing. It's really not considered as part of the bigger picture, which Dev Pro kind of fills in. So comparing the two really, to me, really makes no difference. Both apps are fantastic. The reason why I decided I want to come back to Legacy Duelist for a while is because of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game environment and what most decks are able to do. I found myself struggling to have fun with the TCG, modern TCG OCG environment, which you can access, say, on Dev Pro, Dueling Network, and so on and so forth, because I feel like the game has kind of decided that the most effective way to make new cards and the most effective way to make the game fun is to kind of break its own mechanics. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like many other games has its core set of mechanics. It's, you know, a variant of chess. It's like any sport. It's like any competitive game. Every game has their own rules and structure, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Seems to be breaking its own rules and structure in order to create variety and new ideas. And I haven't got too much of a problem with that, because the game is quite old, and, you know, Konami are a business. They're trying to sell pieces of cardboard to young children and men children, and you know, they've got to find new ways to make it seem fresher and new. But I feel like they've gone in a way which has almost made this game a completely different game than what it actually is designed to be. You know, I've made this comparison before, but it's like let's say if I was to do a video game example, I'm going to think about fighting games. I love fighting games. I'm sure everyone who's watching this may have heard of Street Fighter before. Street Fighter has very, very simple mechanics. The idea is you can do attacks, you can do special attacks, and you can block your opponent. But what if you had a Street Fighter game evolved in such a way where you made it so your opponent can't block anymore, or you made it so that your attacks can do double damage, or you can kill your opponent with a single combo, or you can do an infinite combo on someone. You know, those things aren't part of the game's actual design. You're not designed to be hurt in that kind of way. You're designed to be able to fight back on a near enough balance, even scale as much as possible. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of gone beyond its core mechanics. And the way I normally think about this is in terms of costs and rewards. You know, initially speaking, you know, we have all this variety of cards, but some cards are stronger than the other cards. So therefore, level 5 and 6s, you had to tribute a monster to bring out in the field, and then 7, 8s and higher, you had to tribute 2 monsters to bring out on the field. 9s and 10s, you typically had to bring out 3 in order to get its effect to work. or based on its effect, you had to use 3 monsters. But the idea was, if you want to play this bigger monster, and you want to get the benefits of having a bigger monster in the field, you had to pay for it as per a cost. And that's kind of how the game was designed. But now we live in this format where everything is all about special summoning, and special summoning doesn't necessarily have to have a cost, or special summoning can often be achieved in a way where you don't really pay anything overall. It might be designed that on its own you're paying a card, such as banishing cards or discarding the card to special summon, but realistically speaking, because the rest of the deck creates so much advantage, you're not really paying anything at all. I think there are so many different examples of this. There are cards which say use the graveyard as a resource. There are cards which use the extra deck as a resource. Pendulum summons are a prime example of this. You know, pendulum summons, you don't really pay anything for using pendulum summon. I guess the idea is that you're supposed to, you know, work through your deck to find these pendulum scales, but it doesn't seem very hard to do that, you know. I've never really played a pendulum deck myself, but it seems very easy to get whatever skills you want onto the field, and then you get to special summon as many monsters as you want for free. Then those can go into rank plays or synchro plays, and you get out these big boss monsters for free. It's not so much so that in DevPro environment, if you really don't have your deck's engine set up by turn 2, or basically the first turn, you pretty much lost the game. And this really makes the game kind of unenjoyable. We live in what my good friend Rants 619 likes to call the OTK format. And he's right, it's a format where people just kill you off in one turn, and Konami seems to be okay with that. Maybe because they want the game to seem more fast and more rapid, but there are just decks out there which are just so insane, and I don't really get any value out of that, you know. I don't really get much enjoyment out of it. There's 2 things which come to my mind. Let's say you take the top 10 deck at the moment, Cosmos. Cosmos, they OTK you by special summoning level 3 and level 8 monsters all over and over repeatedly. You bring out something like Farm Gale, say through emergency teleport, attack, pay 1000 life points, special summon that Dark Destroyer or whatever you want to bring out, and then you can continue this on the cycle, keep going again and again and again until you just kill your opponent. Or Monarchs. Monarchs have always been broken, but Monarchs have been manageable in their brokenness. That's because Monarchs, you know, the idea is that to bring out a trippy monster, you're paying a cost to do so, but Monarchs normally get rid of an opponent's card or 2 in some situations, say Mobius, when they do so. So you're really, even though you're losing a card, your opponent loses a card, so it kind of balances itself out. And nowadays, Monarchs get rid of your cards as well as through tribute summoning, say through the Monarch Stormforth or Soul Exchange or etc., or they tribute a monster which was special summoned to their field for free in order to get rid of more cards. And it's a free effect. It's you know, it breaks the game, it breaks the cycle, it makes it so that other tribute summon cards really are inefficient. They're not really worth using. It makes cards, say, such as I don't know, Dark Ruler Hades or Summon Skull or Jinzo, really just so useless because their effects don't really gain you any advantage in the long run. You know, there are others such as Majesty's Fiend and Vanity's Fiend, because their continuous effects really shut down a lot of other decks. But unless you have something like that, the idea of tribute summoning doesn't exist in this game anymore. And I kind of don't really like it. Now, it hasn't been so bad because even though that's still present in Legacy, the Duelist environment, it's manageable. You know, there are ways to overcome it. You have cards in this game which can actually combat special summoning. You have continuous effects like a Fossil Diner, Patchy Palangelo, or Jogun, or Vanity's Emptiness, or Vanity's Fiend. You've got ways which you can stun those really, really fast hits and slow them down a bit. And so you can kind of still feel like you're competing, even though those decks are more likely to be more consistent and better than yours. But at least you can still kind of compete by running those other decks, and that's fine by me. You know, it's still, I don't expect every deck to be balanced and to be fair, but you know, you shouldn't feel like because you chose a certain deck you have already lost the game. You know, you shouldn't feel like, I don't know, Rooney versus Otolla. You know, you shouldn't feel like, oh, if I send out this team out to the field, they're going to instantly lose. You should feel like you can at least put up a fight, even though it's very likely you're going to lose. you know, and I just don't get much enjoyment. You know, I can run those top tier decks, then, you know, once you get to know their patterns and their gimmicks, they're really not that hard. I wouldn't say they're hard to use, they are complicated, but you can just learn their flowchart. Once you learn the flowchart, you just say, summon this, summon that, summon this, summon that, good game, no rematch. You know, and I don't really get much enjoyment out of it. I feel like adding more options to certain decks doesn't really add more skill, you know? Some decks just have better options. I'm going to give a good example. A couple of weeks ago, I did a special video with Rants 619, Dark Magicians versus Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, if you guys haven't seen it, feel free to go watch it. I thought it was an entertaining stream, and it still is entertaining. I had fun playing, making it. But I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't beat Rants 619. You know, I didn't. That was not me beating him. That was Blue Eyes White Dragon beating Dark Magicians. The only reason really why I won is because the Dragon deck has more options as opposed to a Magician deck. You know, Magicians only kind of just got their power boost, whereas Dragons have had so many options for a very, very long time. You know, a rank 8 toolbox is better than a rank 7 toolbox, you know. And I took very, very little satisfaction out of that game in terms of saying beating Ravan. I was happy to see Blue Eyes and Dark Magicians go head to head. That was always fun. But I'm not going to say that I'm a better player than him just because I had a deck which had better options, you know. I feel like if I was to play a deck which was more evenly matched with his deck, it would be a bit more back and forth than it was, as opposed to some situations in that game, in that series of duels that we had, it was just like a one-sided sweep, you know. And I didn't really take much fun from that. I don't really like that kind of game. I prefer a game where you use your resources in a smart way, as opposed to just having more resources and options than your opponent. You know, it's just more fair that way. And that's kind of what brought me back to Legacy of the Duelist. I think Legacy of the Duelist just accomplishes that better, you know. It's not an environment where boss monsters all roam and you can't target them with effects. It's not an environment where by turn 2 you've already lost, although that can happen sometimes. It's not very often that happens. You know, if you know what you're playing against, you can kind of work around it if you're smart enough. You know, and yeah, that's really kind of where I am with this, you know. I just want to have fun. I'm a casual player. I don't care about winning. If I cared about winning, I would be mopping the floor with everyone. I think I'm just that damn good. But I don't. I've already done that before. But yeah, no. That's really kind of my thoughts on it. I still love this game. Still a whole lot of fun. But I'm not a fan of really where it's going in terms of power. But really looking forward to seeing the winter update and seeing what they're going to do in terms of introducing all those new cards to the game. How they're going to keep it fresh, because Legacy of the Duelist is a lot slower paced than, say, Death Pro. And when you're playing decks which make, say, like 10 moves a go, it's going to make this game looks really, really slow. So we'll see how it goes later on down the line. Depends if anyone's still even playing it come the winter update. I think people will. I think there'll be a big resurgence, but we'll see. Anyway, back to Madolches versus Turtles. Turtles are kind of just doing what they want to do here. This is really what the Turtle deck is all about. It's about bringing out monsters through King of the Feral Imps and using the Augusta Emerald to put them back into the deck. It's a basic, simple engine. It's a very slow engine, but if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, Turtles isn't really an archetype, and I've been having a lot of fun with this deck here. I've been using it a lot more than I thought I was going to be, thanks to a couple of subscriber showdowns, which you're going to see over the next 2 days or so. And yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. By now, I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie should be out, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, and please expect a review of it, of a Hey Have You Heard. I'm going to hopefully give it a thumbs up. It's got people like Seamus, Uncle Ruckus, Tyler Perry in there, so I'm hoping it will be enjoyable at the very least, even if it's just a laugh. I thought the first movie was good, but it did get boring at some points because it tries to make it too serious and too convoluted. Look, all I want to see is some Ninja Turtles fight some ninjas. That's all I care about, you know. I don't need a long-winded storyline. Just make it fun, you know, just make it fun. Anyway, back into the game here. We've got Jar of Greed being used. Jar of Greed while Jar Turtle's on the field is going to get me an extra card. Really fun little combo there. No, it's not really a combo, but it's really fun to be able to draw 2 instead of 1 with Jar of Greed. One thing I've been wondering, I think I might have said this before in a previous video, is I'm wondering why Jar of Greed isn't used more often. For a while, everyone was going crazy over the idea that Upstart Goblin is an amazing card because it turns your deck into a 37 card deck as opposed to a what was I thinking? It's a 40 card deck, and so everyone was running 3 copies of Upstart Goblin because it thins out your deck a bit more. So I'm wondering, why don't people use Jar of Greed? Yes, Jar of Greed is slower because it's a trap card, but it can bait out things like MST and Twin Twister and Galaxy Cyclone, I think, or whatever that new banish quick play spell is. So much back row removal in this day and age. That's another thing which I didn't like about about the current TCG OCG environment, is because there's so much back row removal. It's hard to counter other decks using traps and spell cards because they just get destroyed. You know, you really have to use continuous monsters, and if you don't have the right effects in your deck, then you ain't getting out. You know, you have no outs to that. But this game is really fun. I actually really enjoy playing against my Dolces, even though this was quite of a slow-paced game. And thank you for listening to my rant. I appreciate anyone who pays attention to this. I hope to be doing more of a varied style of commentary, as well as explaining the game, but I feel like I've done enough to really kind of explain how the Turtle deck works, and therefore I'm kind of just going to be talking and highlighting other things. But it's been fun. I love having let my creative juices flow and just making up random things and discovering new things. I had to learn a lot to be able to put this deck together and try to get it to work, because I really don't know Reptiles. Reptiles don't have a whole lot of good support. They are a deck archetype, or a monster type, which could do with more generic support. They do have worms and they do have reptilians, but I don't really know how good either of those are. And I don't think I'm going to be finding out anytime soon either. I do have a new deck already planned for after the Turtle stuff is done. It's going to be a really fun one, and I hope people are look forward to that. I'm not going to spoil what it is though. I might make a trailer or 2 to kind of show, because I think it's a fun one. It's one of my favourites. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, King of the Feral Imps is going to come out again. King of the Feral Imps, the OTP. Oh yeah, that's one thing I didn't get to say about earlier on, is this idea of boss monsters. I think the biggest thing which is more makes my frustrations clear with this day and age is monsters which used to be considered boss monsters are now just generic fodder. We live in an age where say like a blue eyes white dragon mech will just continuously special summon high level monsters, which used to be, say, a boss monster for a particular deck. Now is the equivalent of, say, summoning a Sangan or a Breaking a Magical Warrior, because they're free to bring out, and you got boss monsters that lead into boss monsters that lead into boss monsters that leads into bigger boss monsters which can't be killed, and decks that don't have those kind of options really can't compete. But anyway, that's enough of that rant. We got Dagusto attacking directly, doing some damage. My Dolce Ticket is going to allow my opponent to add another card from his deck to his hand. And we're going to move on into attacking directly with King of the Feral Imps. This game is almost wrapped up here. It should be almost done. 2300 damage is going to do that there. I'm going to go to main phase 2, and now I'm going to set down Offering of the Snake Deity. And I'm going to wrap things up then in my turn. And we'll see what my opponent chooses to do. My Dolce seem like a lot of fun. I've always been kind of curious as to how well they work, because the idea of shuffling cards back into your deck is normally a no-no. Normally people don't want more cards in the deck because they're hard to access, but it seems not the case with that. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.